The champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
Mate.
Yes, he is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here, interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom. Man, we're here covering it all, laughing at it all, while providing a platform to be heard. So, as our devoted and well-followed listeners, you know what we got to do right now. We have to welcome our guest, all right? And short and sweet, right? He is an expert in all forms of journalism, but I don't think you really know a man until you get to know his story. And one of the things he does is he definitely tells other stories. So we're now giving him a platform to share his story. So we're really excited about this. Please clap it up for the digital team reporter of our Las Vegas Raiders. Hey, welcome, Levi, man. Thank you so much for jumping on with us, man. I hope that intro was okay for you, man.
We're solid, man. You did a good job, EJ. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely,
thank you so much, dog.
So, I mean, this is kind of putting me and MH's chops on the line when we get a real journalist in here. So please be nice to us, be easy with us. But like we love to start our show with a shoot your shot moment. All right. So this is just a quick story where any time in life that you shot your shot. So it could have been back in the Pee Wee days. It could be currently in your job or some past roles or even in college. But please give us a shoot your shot moment.
Man, that's a really great question. Shoot your shot, man. Really just, man, what do you think? Really just recently, I guess I shot my shot. Obviously, I wanted to do some more video content within my job, kind of where I'm at now. And, there wasn't really necessarily an avenue for that at the time when I first got, in my position where they really just wanted me to strictly be kind of, a writer. And then over time, we got a new video manager within our, long form content. His name is Eddie McGee. Miles, you know who Eddie is. That's my guy. Shout out Eddie. And he came up with this concept to where we marry long form feature stories from a video aspect and also with a written component as well with a long form feature story. And so he came up with that idea knowing I wanted to do more with it. And I've been preaching that to him. So I shot my shot on that. And he was able to, figure out a way to get that done. He let me name it. It's called Press Coverage. And we just had an episode roll out a couple of weeks ago that my editor, Rachel Gossin, that she wrote and she was a part of for Locky Tossie. But the episode I did, it was on Max Crosby, feature story on Max Crosby, his journey through his life to the NFL, and did a really good feature story on that. And then the video component of it was recently nominated for an Emmy this year. So, thankfully for that, I can now consider myself a Emmy-nominated journalist.
Let's go. Talk about shoot you. Pew, pew, pew.
I love it.
Awesome, man.
Shout out Eddie, friend of the show too. Eddie's been on.
Yeah, I actually saw the episode with Eddie on here too. Yeah, that's my guy. Yeah, that's my OG right there.
Yeah,
so
Eddie, shout out to Eddie. And shout out to you, Rachel, too. Shout out to Rachel. So Levi, where did your love for sports start?
My love for sports, that's a great question, because growing up when I was like a little kid, I did not have this like love for sports. I wasn't really trying to get into it. I was kind of more of like your little pristine kind of child, just trying to stay out of the way. I thought it was too much contact. I didn't like any of that. And so it's funny that I have the job that I have now, because my first love as a sport is actually basketball. Basketball was my first love. And that came just from watching ESPN Classic games. The kids today, these days, they don't know what ESPN Classic is, but ESPN Classic used to be a channel that would only show, vintage games, whether it was football, basketball, tennis, baseball, whatever. So we started watching ESPN Classic games. He was watching his old, those old battles between the Lakers and the Celtics on that channel, and the Lakers and the Pistons back in the 80s. And I just sat and I watched, and Magic Johnson and Showtime Lakers captivated me. Like just the way that they play ball, just with Magic and James Worthy and Byron Scott and Kareem, all those boys, the way they ran up the court. And they just, for a kid like me, I was 7, they just made the game so entertaining for me. And I love their jerseys. I love everything about the Lakers, just watching those old school games with my pops. And so that translated over into me liking what was at the time modern day basketball. So then I started watching AI. I started watching KG. I started watching Kobe. Kobe's my guy. I started watching Steve Nash and, all those guys. And so it really kind of just translated over from, of course, I'm some kid, so I'm watching these old 80s games, and that's what got me, with the love of sports. And so eventually that trickled over into football. It's funny because AP, our old coach, I told him the first football game that I ever watched that I was invested in, that I was actually invested in as a fan, was the Super Bowl where the Giants beat the Patriots to stop the 18-0. That was the first football game I remember watching where I actually knew what was going on. I actually cared what was going on. I knew that this was going to be history one way or another. And so it's crazy because I told him that. I met Coughlin in training camp, and I told him that. Life is so full circle sometimes how, I'm talking to these guys and I'm interviewing them, and, I meet Tom Brady, and it's like that's why I got into football, was that game, how tragic it is for some and how victorious it was for some. So I guess that's how the dice roll sometimes.
That's absolutely full circle, man. And talking about just the game that AP played in, right? And then meeting in that same game, like you said, you have vested interest. Now you work alongside or with, Tom Brady being around and in the building. So take us back to so your younger days, definitely. Where did you grow up? Was it in Alabama, or did you spend some time in Alabama? Where was home growing up?
So I claim two cities. I claim Birmingham and I claim Charlotte. So okay. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, and then when I was young, as I was about to enter elementary school, my parents, we relocated to a suburb right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, called Mooresville. And so I grew up kind of like in that Lake Norman area of Charlotte, North Carolina. For you guys that don't necessarily know what I'm talking about, so I grew up in a town called Davidson. There's a college in Davidson. There's a guy who is the point guard for the Warriors named Steph Curry. He played at Davidson, and my mom used to work at the university, had season tickets for us when he was leading this college called Davidson College to the Elite Eight back in 2008, 2009. So that's where I grew up, was Davidson, North Carolina. And then I went back to Birmingham to go to college, Sanford University. Have a lot of family in Birmingham on both of my parents' sides, actually. So yeah. So I grew up in Charlotte.
You mentioned Davidson, and it's funny how Steph has made that like a known, university. But the other universities there, and in my short time in North Carolina, my parents own a house there. I know there's Duke in Carolina, and there's always a way to choose. So did you have some allegiance there?
That's crazy that you asked that, dog, because no, not at all. No. If I had to pick a side now, but Clark growing up in high school, Duke, UNC did not care. Like, that was their thing, and I just loved to see all of the violence that came from it, because the same thing with, Alabama, Auburn. I have a little bit more of an investing part in that rivalry.
Okay.
But UNC, Duke, I could care less. But now I would say I probably cheer a little bit more for North Carolina, just because I actually had friends from high school that went on to play at North Carolina. So I went to high school with Luke May, who hit the buzzer beater in the Elite Eight to send North Carolina to the national championship. They won that year, and he's overseas. So I'm friends with him, who is the older brother of Drake May, the quarterback of the New England Patriots, who the Raiders just beat. So they're a very athletic family. So I went to high school with him. Another corner named Corey Bell. He went to go play at North Carolina. He was a good dude. Carl Tucker. He went on to be a tight end for Carolina, and then transferred to Alabama. Played with the Dolphins for a little bit at fullback. So I played high school ball with them, and they all went to UNC. So I would say now I'd probably say I'm a little bit more of a Tar Heels guy, just solely off of the guys I went to high school with who played there. But growing up, from the time I got there to the time I left to go to college, I had no care in the rivalry at all. I just like to see I just like the violence of it. I just was like, man, that they real tight about this rivalry. I don't really care about it, but it's good to see them get heated about this, when it's time for them to get on that court. So it was what it was.
Any love for Belichick? You think he's going to get the program where it needs to be? Because, I mean, it started off rough.
It depends on how much time. It depends on how much time they're going to give him. The one thing I will say, I mean, we're all confused about the situation because, I mean, Belichick's a legendary coach. I mean, he has 8 Super Bowls, not 6. He has 8 because you got to count them ones he got as a coordinator with the Giants. So he's a legendary coach. The thing about it is you got rid of Mac Jones. You want to go in a different direction, but, to have a guy who's more relatable to your players. You bring in Belichick. I'm not really sure what you accomplish with that, but still a legendary coach. And depending on how much time they're going to give him, is really going to – that's just going to be another you have to turn that whole program around because I feel like Mac Jones had got to a point where it was like a respectable football team, and then it fell off, and now you have to go all the way back around, and now the ACC's got – You add in a couple of teams to the ACC, and now it's a little bit more competitive. I feel for a long time, the ACC, from a football perspective, was kind of like a pancake conference. It was just Clemson and Florida State, and that was it. Yeah. Now you got SMU in there, you got Cal in there, you got Stanford in there, you got some good teams in there. So it's going to be tough to even compete in that conference now. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, he unthawed Jordan. Mike don't come out for anybody. So the fact that he showed up, maybe there's some dollars rolling around.
Had him LT. His shorty in the box, bro. He had everybody in the box.
Yeah.
His shorty up there with Belichick. Jay.
He TI'd it. He brought him out, didn't he?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right, man. That would be interesting. I think that was the best intro you could have said, and how much time. I think that's a great way to cap it. So, man, so talk to us about your playing days, man. I know you played somebody's line somewhere.
Oh yeah, no, I was a defensive tackle at my high school, so I'll give a shout out to Huff High School. It's funny because it's spelled Hough, so everybody sees it and they think I went to Ho High School. Did not go to Ho High School. I went to Huff High School. And it was cool kind of going through that whole process because it was a brand new school. Basically, there was another school that was in Charlotte that I was, would have been zoned for, but that became overcrowded. So they had to build this new one. So I got there the second year it was in existence was when I first got to that high school, and it was trash. We were really bad. And so obviously, how high school football works, a little bit of, gerrymandering and a couple of, zone changes and, a couple of homeboys get some P.O. boxes and a couple of different area codes. And then, lo and behold, my senior year, we about 2 games away from the state championship.
Let's go. Love it.
Oh, yeah. And it sucks because we lost But to go back to your original question, I was a defensive tackle. I really wanted to play linebacker, but we had some dogs at linebacker at my high school. These were like some boys that were going D1, 6'3", 240. It just wasn't going to happen for me. I wasn't going to be able to be a starting linebacker on our team. So I played defensive tackle, got some reps in. I was a nice little fat nose tackle. And I also wrestled in high school, and people see me and they probably thought I was like a monster. I was actually better at wrestling than I was at football. Because, being short, stocky, in wrestling, that's probably the best sport to be short and stocky in. So, but
they breed great nose. Hey, but they breed great nose tackles as well.
Cannot block them.
Hey, listen, them techniques of being in them trenches and then wrestling, getting one side to the other side. That's
yeah. So it was funny because when you have football workouts and wrestling workouts, when I was doing those wrestling workouts, we were doing cardio. And I was, always gassed. I was the fat kid because I was like 220 heavyweight weight class. I was the fat kid, could never get through conditioning, about to die every day of practice. Got me in the best shape, and then I transfer that over to football, and I'd be like, man, like this all y'all got.
That's it, right?
Easy money right here. These little, gassers up the hill. Like you guys doing gases up the hill. You guys doing wheelbarrows on the field. Like, come on now. like I almost died in wrestling practice like 2 weeks ago. So like we're good.
This
but
easy money, right?
easy money right here. And so but I played nose and we were pretty good my junior and my senior year. We were about 2 games away from a state championship game. And funny story, actually, my senior year, we played the high school that Jordan Davis went to. So I've played against Jordan Davis, but he was a tackle on that team as well. And he was like a freshman coming in. And they even had like Thad Moss, who was like Randy Moss's son, who played in that LSU. They had some dogs on those Mallet Creek teams. And they were running rough shot on the state for a while. So that's why I couldn't get my ring. So, but it was good times, man. It was simpler days, I miss it sometimes.
That's facts.
And that's the crazy thing about wrestling and football is wrestling is such a singular individual sport. So you're just so focused on you. So the team camaraderie is not as strong, where it's like, really the best part about wrestling was just like the 6 minutes you got to go on the mat and beat somebody if you were good enough to beat somebody. Everything else kind of sucked. And then with football, even my worst days in football were probably better than some of the better days in wrestling, where you have people that like you're willing to go through a wall for, that you're connected with. That brotherhood is just so like I feel like every locker room, to a degree is kind of like that. But man, when you are in a locker room with guys that you're connected with and you're winning games and you're good, like there's nothing like it. And so that's just kind of why I love sports so much too. It's just how it's able to bring people together from so many different backgrounds, so many different, interests and places. Sports is just so uniting. And in high school, like it was easy just to see that even as like a 17, 18-year-old kid.
No, I love that. And, I think the locker room is the locker room everywhere, but some of the places that you grew up in, Carolina and, eventually went to college in Alabama, they do football a little just different on that side of the country. Right. So I guess, how did that part of the culture of football kind of propel you to even what you do now? Like what was that a big part of, kind of seeing where you're at now, was kind of the culture you grew up in?
I think to a degree it helps in the sense that like when you're covering a team, obviously, even if it's a bad team, every game counts. Every game matters. And, when you're in high school ball, especially in the South, every game matters. Whether it's a cupcake game or not, people are going to come out, they're going to support, they're going to make sure that they are giving their full support to it. Like every game. And I think that's the same way within, NFL football, where the way that I have to attack covering, this team and covering these games is that every game matters. Every game is important. This is an opportunity for somebody to tell their story. It could be your starting quarterback goes out and, we're going to tell a story about this backup, what he's going to do. Or these people these people go down. Okay, well, we got to tell the story about these guys and what they're able to do, because everybody has a story and everything needs to be told. So there's no such thing as a small game. And I think growing up in the South with high school football and college football, like, it matters. Even for me going to a smaller school, what is a money game, for some, big SEC school that's just paying us to come in and get our ass whooped. That's a big deal for us. So we're going to treat that game like there's nothing else going on. And so that's just the vibe with football in the South, is like there's nothing else going on. And I think I do carry that within how I report. Which I also got to stop and say, Miles, what part of North Carolina are your parents at?
Fayetteville.
I never knew that.
Fayetteville. So they military. Okay. Yeah. So military background, got a house up there. My little brothers went to Terry Sanford High School, played basketball. They were scared of the football field. So yeah.
Well, there's a rapper, I believe, that went to
Terry Sanford. They claim him tough. My brothers don't even listen to music like that and act like they know J. Cole.
They actually claim nothing but him.
Yeah, that's it.
They don't claim anything but that man in Fayetteville.
That is it.
Yeah, he played ball at Terry Sanford. Yeah. Small world.
Yeah, small world for real.
So before we get back or too far into your career, man, I want to ask one like transition question. So how was it, that close to in your senior year What was it like to choose Stanford, right? Like, how did that go, the recruiting process, and how did you ultimately choose to go to college there?
That's a great question. And I kind of think about this a good bit, just with you kind of contemplate life decisions, and you're like, did I make the right decision, all this other kind of stuff. And I think I made the right decision. So essentially, I knew coming out of high school what I wanted to do. I think a lot of people, let me start off with that, is a lot of people stumble into career choices, or they kind of stumble into what they want to do with their life. And I've known since I was in eighth grade that I wanted to be a sports reporter. That's just a decision that I made. I had a high school that had a sports journalism program with a newspaper. I was our sports anchor for our morning news announcements, and I did some really good work on there, and it made me realize, like, man, I love doing this. I love interviewing people. I love, you know, kind of getting this little camera time. And I was like, I can get paid for this. If I can make this into a for real career, like I can get some money. Because it just combined like my two passion. It combined my passion with something I was good at. I could write and I could talk about sports. So combine that to two, let's get paid. So I really wanted to go to a school where I was able to truly get as deep into that as possible, of kind of like having my opportunity to go as deep into sports journalism as possible. So my three schools that I heavily looked at was Alabama, FIU, and Samford University, because Samford was in Birmingham. I love Birmingham. That's my hometown. I wanted to get back home, be around family, and that was at the time the best journalism program in the state of Alabama.
Right.
So Alabama is obvious. Like you had, Roll Tide. This is like in 2015. I'm coming out of high school, so this is like when the Tide was the Tide. This is like in the middle of the dynasty, like where they were just like, you talking about you want Bama, you're going to get beat by 60 on any given day by Bama. Like it was bad. So I was like, okay, if I go here, then I'll have my opportunity to like cover some real big games, be deep in sports, and do my thing. And so I think for Alabama, Alabama and Samford, it was kind of like neck and neck. So FIU, I went and I toured FIU, which is in Miami. Had a really great time, beautiful campus. Would have been like super cheap to go there. And then as I was there, I kind of like had the presence of mind, even as a young 17-year-old kid. I was going there for the wrong intentions. I told myself like I didn't really want to go to this school. I just wanted to go to college in Miami.
Yes.
And if I couldn't go to actual University of Miami, then I would just be out here wilding, doing whatever. And I just would have I wouldn't have stuck the course if I would have went to college in Miami.
Love it.
So the presence of mind, man, for me to, very introspective kid of me. But it came down to Alabama versus Samford. Essentially, both of my parents, I talked to them, and they really gave me some really good points. And they said, like, if you go to Alabama, you are going to be a statistic. You're going to be a number. There's going to be a lot of kids there, and you're not going to be able to do what you really want to do in your major until you're a junior or senior. Then you'll have to deal with politics, and then they won't be able to give you the one-on-one attention and be able to cater and nurture to kind of like your skill set the way that you want, because they're having to deal with so many other kids going through it, and it'll be kind of a grind. But if you go to Samford, which was their journalism program was actively recruiting me, telling me you can come in day one, be the guy straight off the bat. Like, come here, we're going to put you in these classes day one. We're going to let you be a cameraman for ESPN 3 day one on our football broadcast, soccer broadcast, write for the school paper. Out the gate as a freshman, they told me that, because they were like, we see what you can do and you have the ability. And so they said, look, go somewhere it's a little smaller. You'll be able to be around people that actually care about you, that want to develop you in a program, get you where you want to go. And that's why I chose Samford. And it also helped that Birmingham have a whole lot of, I could go the home away from home, where I was able to leave my parents and kind of be on my own. But I knew, like, if I needed some help, I got auntie down the street. I got, my Uncle Mike down the street. I got my grandma down the street. I got my cousins down the street, So it was nice because it was the home away from home where I felt comfortable. And I'm not sure if you guys have ever been to Birmingham, the best food ever in the nation. It, like, by far, that Atlanta, Alabama, all that right there in the Southeast and the dirty South, South. It's dirty South with the F.
South.
South. South. Not South. South.
I love it.
Best food. And so I stayed fed, and Sanford did right by me, and they looked out for me in their program and got me off to the start I needed.
Well, man,
that's winded. I feel like that was so long. Just talking about it. I just haven't thought about it in a while. But yeah, right decision. Made some really good friends there that I would consider lifelong friends at this point. So definitely, and
actually, like you said, man, it's big fish, small pond, right? I was definitely given that analogy once before, and it's just like, but it really led to the road that you're desiring. And I think the other thing that I don't want to just kind of glaze by is people don't understand. When we were doing our research, you knew this is what you wanted to do, and a lot of people don't even have that idea or that clue. And I think having that is a really big thing, and to take the time, like you said, you were pristine as a younger kid, and you just had that focus, which is kudos to you, man. And the Miami thing, like I feel you.
Shout out to Michael Irvin talking about the I.
And FIU, they got Pitbull. They got Pitbull now.
They got the Pitbull Stadium. Man, yeah, no. I'm not saying I wouldn't have got through FIU. I mean, I would have eventually got out of there, but like I graduated from Sanford in 4 years. Beautiful. FIU probably would have been, about 5 or 6. Would have been a little bit of an extended. I would have had to add some dates to the tour. You feel me?
I feel it all.
I would have had to add some dates to the tour.
I love it, man. Well, hey, let's jump into the career, man. So, I mean, working, like I said, you put the work in, and now to be in your dream, man. What is it like, to report on sports, with a brand as big as the Raiders, right? Like, and as you've kind of been sharing with us the trajectory it's going, man. What is it like working in your dream?
Man, it's great, and it's one of those things where I have to remember every day that this is my dream. Because once you live out a dream and you manifest it and it happens, it gets to a point where you're always thinking like, okay, what's next? And things become mundane to you. And that's natural. That's going to happen with everybody and anybody who's driven that wants to get to the next level, that's just eventually what's going to happen. And so I always have to remember, like, at this part of my life, when I envisioned what my career wanted to look like 10 years ago, when I was 18 and wanted to get into this, this is exactly where I would have hoped and dreamed I was, this position 10 years ago. So obviously, the day in, day outs of it, it can get mundane, it can get stressful. This isn't as glorious as what people would think it is when they see me, doing podcasts or, writing these stories or, posting me meeting Mike Tyson and Tom Brady on my stories on Instagram. But it's not as glorious as it looks and it seems. But this is the life that I've carved for myself, and this was the dreams that I chose, and I get to live that out. And there's a lot of people that don't get to live out their dreams, and so I don't take it for granted. I go in every day, even on days where I don't want to get out of bed, wake up, I remember what I do and the fan base that I do it for. And that's what motivates me to make sure that I write the most kick-ass stories I can, to make sure that I'm telling the best stories on these guys in the locker room and the coaching staff, so they feel like they're seen and heard. Because I know they read it. I know they're just as invested in it as I am to writing it. So I always have to remember that. And that's what fuels me. And that's what, keeps me going now. This is my 6th season and it's flown by. And I always have to remember, like, this is what I wanted. This is what I asked for. And I saw something even on Instagram. It was kind of like a post where it said, you can't be mad about what's on the plate when all you want to do is eat, or something like that. Like you can't complain about the portion on your plate if all you want to do is eat, or something to that degree. And so I have to tell myself that every day is, put all that you can on the plate, because I really do love what I do. and I want to stay eating. I'm a big boy. I need food to provide for a family.
Yeah, need that nourishment. It's cool, man. Manifesting your dreams, from 8th grade to where now. What are some things, I guess, that you learned in experiencing your dream right now that you didn't even really expect in 8th and 9th grade and 10th grade, and as you were getting into the career? For what are some things that you kind of experienced today that you didn't even really expect from back then?
I really not like I'm not surprised that it happened. I mean, I worked too hard to make it happen, but I think what's surprising is that I hate to see I hate to sound like self conceited, but I think the big surprise for me is that I really was that guy all along, and
Hey, talk that shit.
No, I love that.
I was that guy all along
because you put the work in, man. So no, 100%.
Because I always, when I was doing this in high school, I always stood out, and people told me I was really good and I should, make this to actual career. And I even, was nominated for like a yearbook superlative where it was, most likely to be on ESPN. And it was me who had no offers, who was on our morning news announcements, versus 3 guys that went and played D1 football. One of them, Luke May, who we have established has made a game-winning shot for UNC to lead to a national championship, and another guy who won a national championship at Clemson as their starting corner who played for the Vikings. So I was nominated with them in high school for this award, not being that great at football. So I was told in high school I was really good at this and to keep on pursuing it. When I got to college, kept on telling me, you're really good at this. You need to keep pursuing it. Like, you have a chance. And so not like I didn't think that it would not come true, because I've, manifested this and I put in the work, but it's one of those things where you kind of wait for somebody to give you like this, big constructive criticism kind of moment of like, maybe you're not as good as you think you are, or, maybe this isn't going to work out for you. Have you thought about some other options? By the time I was 23 years old, I was over here thinking like, okay, well, I'm probably going to go out into the real world and it's going to hit me, and I'm going to be working at some small market TV station in a town in Tennessee that nobody's ever heard of. I'm going to be grinding it out, and I'm just going to have to, have my lumps and keep on pushing to make it big. And I was instead paying my lumps with the Las Vegas Raiders at 23 years old. It was one of those things where I always thought I was going to have that moment where someone told me, or, there was going to be something that stopped me, or, adversity. And there's definitely adversity along the way. But it's just good to know now that, like, I was always that guy. I was always going to find a way to kind of make this happen. And everybody saw it. And even if I didn't believe in me, everybody else did. So that's why I have all the confidence in myself to be able to perform at a high level for Raiders.com.
Man, that's awesome, man. So one thing we're seeing around the NFL is that's gotten big, right, is the schedule release drop, right? Are you involved in that? And if not, like, what is the kind of like the schedule release or the thing around in your role?
Yeah, so my department is involved with it. Sometimes I play a bigger role in it than not. This year was actually a little different. So our video team handles all that, and they come up with the idea, and then they, manifest it, and they ask whoever they need to. So this year was a little different, where they took our entire Silver and Black Productions team, and then we all had to brainstorm ideas in a team.
Oh, wow,
and then kind of like come up with like this winning idea for what it would be. And so it was funny because, once again, let me shout out to Eddie McGee. Me and him were on the same team.
Let's go.
And we had actually come up with the winning idea for what the schedule release would have been. And then we were starting to go through the process. We put together a storyboard. We were getting ready for our team to do it. And then it was brought to someone's attention within the team internally that, like, oh, well, this idea that they won with is too similar to something that the Rams did a couple of years ago. And even though it was kind of like a similar idea, it would have been executed completely different.
Yeah.
Like, just complete, like, if you compared the two, it was like completely wouldn't have not even been the same thing completely at all. But then it was like too much for like the higher ups to be like, hey, we just don't even want to run into that risk at all. Even so, they decided to go with a different plan, which eventually turned out to be our schedule release this year, with the old school Vintage Sports Center commercials kind of being spoofed. And I thought that they did. I thought that they did a great job.
And did you see there was a cameo of a couple people who all had cameos in there?
So I believe, I believe the superstar of the community relations team, I believe Miles Hayes, he had a cameo in Stripes. I believe, am I correct?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We have to go back and check the tape.
I believe he was in that. I believe he was in that.
We gotta roll the tape.
Yeah, we gotta roll
tape.
Yeah. We gotta look at the.
We gotta look at the video.
We actually got to review the footage.
We gotta review.
Get the movie.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. That like your whole team gets to contribute and like keep it fresh and things like that. Sucks that your idea, of course, but the fact that you presented something and initially won, I mean, that's kind of kudos for an Emmy-nominated journalist as yourself.
I'll take the nomination. Emmy winner would have been nice, but
hey, it's coming, man. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
All right. Oh, go ahead, Mitch.
Real quick about your job, Levi. I know growing up as a fan of sports, I always loved press conferences and just the atmosphere of what a press conference is before and after practice and after the game and all those things. Take me to how you're approaching to a press conference and asking questions to players and coaches and after that all there.
That's a great question. It's evolved over time. Because when I first got into this role, you roll into a press conference and you feel like, oh, I have to prove myself. I'm, with all these reporters and I'm talking to the coach, I'm talking to this player. So you kind of get into this mindset, when I first got in the game of like, okay, let me just ask a question. Let me just, whatever it is, I'm gonna get my question off. I'm gonna figure something out. And I found myself in a position where I would either ask a question just to ask it, or I would get kind of like jittery and I would like not make the question as concise as it needed to be to kind of just get from point A to point B and just get to the point. And so I think now my mentality is when I go into a press conference with whoever, I already kind of know like this is what I need from this person to kind of fulfill this narrative that I would like to push. And obviously things don't, you could get something, you can go into a press conference and somebody will say something completely out of the ordinary, completely off track. And then it's just kind of like, oh, like, let me write a completely different story now because he over here giving me all this. I wasn't expecting all this. He gave me a little bit more meat on the bone. So let's do some more stuff out of this. But now my mentality going into a press conference when I'm interviewing someone is I know what I need. I know what I want to ask. And if there's no need to ask the question, then just don't ask it. And I think a lot of reporters kind of have that mentality that I used to have when I came in, where I just have to ask a question just to ask a question because I'm here. Like, no, you don't. Just observe, just sit, see what other people ask. And if you still have one question that you need that hasn't already been asked, then, get after it. But that's really my mentality, is go in with a purpose. And that's what I try to do everything at my job in now is, have a purpose behind why you're doing something instead of just doing it for no reason at all. So I try to add meaning and purpose to everything, whether it's a press conference or I know when there's a time, if I'm in the open locker room, I know there's a time where it's like, if I need to interview a player for something and I need these quotes from him for a story, I'm going to go get it. Or if I just need to build relationships with these guys, if I just need to talk to somebody, just to talk to them, just to be like, hey, yo, what's up? And kind of get to know them more as a person so our relationship can build so I can get more content out of that later so they can entrust me with their story. I'll do that. So I think there's a time and a place for everything, and just to always try to have a purpose or, intentionality behind everything that I do now. So that's how I attack press conferences, because they're just all so different. And I just try to get what I can from it. And hopefully I get what I can from it, what I intended for it.
Man, you hit on two things I want to kind of ask you on. The first one, I think you slid into it a little bit, but how do you work on getting that trust with these players, and how big is that for you, when getting these stories? And then I'll jump back into my other questions, but I want to give you a minute to answer that first.
Yeah, no, it's massive just because of the fact that, like, I am the internal team reporter, and a lot of people, when you tell them that, they don't really necessarily understand. Like, okay, so yeah, you report on the team, but like, like who are you with? And it's like, no, I'm with the team. I'm with Raiders.com, like their internal media person. So it takes them a while to digest that. So in my role, I've realized that I have, some of the best access that any reporter, any journalist can have on this beat. So I have to use it wisely, and I have to make sure that I'm connected with everyone in the building, where I have good relationships with them, or they'll see me and they're like, oh, that's Levi, that's our guy. I can trust him. Versus someone who's coming in from ESPN or coming in from the Boston Globe or the Athletic. I need to make sure that I keep that appearance of that's our guy. I can trust him. He has good intentions. And so,
That's awesome.
and that's not even just with being like a team reporter necessarily. I feel like with any reporter, any journalist, like it's a relationship business where people are going to trust you and people are going to give you, people are going to trust you and give you what you need just based off of how they feel about you. If they
Nice.
feel like you can't trust you, or they feel like you're going to misconstrue what they say, like it's out. And then, it's a locker room. So they're going to tell other boys like, hey man, like don't
He
don't
ain't
with
the guy. Don't right.
yeah, he ain't like, don't talk to him, bro, because it's not gonna go. It ain't gonna go right. So I've learned just more than anything, like not even just the work that I put in on these stories, but just the relationships I have with the people who I'm writing it about are just as important as what's written, because that, over time generates some of the best content because they trust you to tell their stories. And so,
And they're more open with you, right?
What'd you say?
And they're more open with you, right?
And they're more open with me, yeah, because they want this to come out. They a lot of these guys, when I'm writing stories, they want the story to come out just as good as I want it to, because it's about them. Why would they not want the story to come out well? So they try to make sure, like, hey, like, let me give you, what you need, and I really, I feel a place of, like obligation to these guys to make sure that I'm giving them, telling the best version of what they need out of their story, but also I have an obligation to our fan base, to Raider Nation, of giving them the best content as well, so they can get invested in these players as well, because that's my job. So, definitely 100% relationship business all the way around. More
stuff.
important than anything I could write.
And that's a great balance. I mean, I'm glad everything you shared with that, right? Just a relationship, but your duality, right? Like you're supporting your guys in the locker room because those are your guys that you need to get that information. But you're telling the stories for the fans, so we can get to know who they are, what they're doing, and why we want to root for them. So, man, that's a balancing act for real, man. So, thanks for sharing that. The other part I wanted to bring up, as we were talking about your initial story, was when you were talking about sometimes journalists would just go in the room just to be in the room and ask a question instead of being a student of the game themselves and collecting that information and telling a story. Do you think that like journalism has lost its way, or has lost maybe a step or so, because people are so quick to be first to the story, not right to the story?
Absolutely. And that was one of the things, even before I came to the Raiders, when I was with AL.com. That was my first job out of college, and I was a breaking news reporter. And that was a huge emphasis from my boss, where he was like, you're in an industry where there's going to be so many people trying to get, all of this information at one time, and, they're going to get it wrong. And he was really poignant on letting me know, like, hey man, we need you to be timely. You're a breaking news reporter, so you got to break this stuff. But like, I would much rather you be right and kind of wait a little bit longer than be wrong, and we have to change it and you lose credibility. And so that's always been at the top of my mind, is always making sure that I'm right, always making sure I get all the details, instead of just posting something when it first happens, or writing about something when it first happens. And there's definitely, like, deadlines need to be met, and there still needs to be a timeliness that comes to things so you can maximize on, the audience. But that's something that's been ingrained to me for a while, is always making sure that you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, making sure that you're right, making sure you don't lose credibility. And I do think that journalism has taken a step back because there's too many people who are so concerned with being first and making sure that stuff gets out there with not having all the, all the information. It's kind of like that saying, if you shoot at the king, you bet not miss. So that's kind of like my philosophy is, if I'm gonna write something, if I'm gonna publish it, if I'm gonna tweet it, it needs to be right, because I don't want to hit that edit button, or I don't want to have somebody in the building be like, "Hey man, I need you to take that down." It's
or have the editor in the next post like, "Hey, here's correction from that last story."
Yeah. Have to update it. It's just not a good look.
Right.
No, that's real though, man. You live in a space though, man. Like, people are emotionally charged by a few things. It's family and politics, and then whoever their team is, right? And
yes.
As a reporter on the beat representing the team, man, like, talk about the responsibility of that part of it too. You people look at you like, hey, Levi's the one I'm getting my stuff from. I'm setting my whole day off of what Levi's saying. You know what I mean?
It took a while. It took a while to kind of forge that relationship, because I came on with the team in COVID. 2020 was my first season when they first moved to Las Vegas. So it took a while for them to really, truly understand like who I was and kind of what I did. So I feel like it wasn't until maybe like that third season covering the team where I really started to pick up steam, where people were like, okay, well, this is Levi with Raiders.com. And so
that guy, Levi.
That guy. Sure. Yeah. So I really do, like I said, I feel like a sense of obligation to Raider Nation, because there's so many rabid fan bases across the league, and there's so many people who are so passionate about their teams. We're all passionate about our team, but Raider Nation is just different. Like, it's just real intense, and they care so much about the team. They care so much about their players. Good, bad, or ugly, they're going to be there, and they're going to want to, they're going to want to talk about it. And so for me to represent not just the team, the team, that is what it is. It's, there's 32 teams, but that fan base, to be able to represent them and be able to give them the information and the feature stories that they need and they want, like, that means a lot to me, because it's not just some franchise that, doesn't have, like, oh, okay, they're kind of, yeah, I'm not going to call out any other teams, but there's some teams that have a little bit more passive fan bases that are not as invested. And the Raiders are by far top 5 fan base in the NFL, which is how much they care, how much they're invested in the team, how much they consume content. So they are the people that make what I do worthwhile at the end of the day, is the fans. So
shout out to the
I really do
fans,
appreciate
for real.
Yeah, because they're a resilient bunch. I'll tell you that, man. If you look at the team the last 20 years, and for them to still be this passionate about them and ride for them from LA to Oakland to Vegas, they don't care. They're gonna ride for the Raiders, and those are the kind of people who I want to, write content for, because they care.
There it is.
And I really mean
No, 100%. Like, anybody that follows understands, like, just like you said, the movement. But MH, man, you ready to get that 3 and outs going?
Yeah. Levi, some quick questions for our listeners to get to know you a little better, man. Texting or talking?
Texting, unless
Okay.
it's someone who, like, I haven't talked to in a while.
Okay.
Texting.
Okay.
Texting.
Favorite day of the week?
Sunday.
Favorite city in the U.S. besides the one you currently live in here, Vegas?
Miami, Florida.
That's funny. That's funny. Nickname, if you want to share. I mean, if you can't share, nickname your parents used to call you.
Lee.
Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a driver are you?
6, 7.
Okay.
7.
Honest. I love it.
7.
Stone Cold, fill in the blank on this one. Stone Cold Steve Austin is
probably the best. God. God, what is Stone Cold Steve Austin? Repeat the line. I know it's supposed to be quick. Repeat it.
Fill in the blank. Stone Cold Steve Austin is blank.
One of the greatest. and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. I was gonna say the greatest wrestler of the '90s, but he's not because that's Shawn Michaels to me.
Yeah.
But he is the most influential wrestler
There you
of
go.
the '90s.
I'm
Stone
with
Cold
you.
Steve Austin.
I'm with you. Shout out Triple H. That's my guy. Place you most want to travel to?
Probably London.
Love it. Favorite junk food?
Lemon pepper chicken wings.
I like that too. Favorite childhood TV show?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Favorite season?
Fall.
Last Halloween costume? Go.
I'm trying to remember. Man, what was? I do remember. I've had two that I can remember. My last two Halloween costumes. One of them was actually, of all people, Freddie Mercury, and the other one is a rapper that has now been canceled and destroyed for obvious reasons. Who is from Chicago, Illinois, and he's done everything to ruin his legacy. Irreparable damage that he can come back from. But he at one time was the GOAT, and I was him for Halloween one year. I was also The Rock from Baywatch one year for Halloween too.
Hold on, there's a lot of specifications going on. Because like you said, a rap artist, I was like, hey, you got to be more specific. So thank you for getting us there. And then not only said The Rock from Baywatch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What else you got, MH?
No, that's it, man. That's it.
All right, so I'm going to throw in one, man. What is the best Christmas movie?
Oh, Christmas movie?
Yes. Come on. You should know this instantly.
Is this Christmas?
This Christmas?
Well, that's actually okay. Let me not lie. Okay, so that probably is the best Christmas movie. My personal favorite Christmas movie is going to be a hot take, but it's Home Alone 2. When
I'm about to say
New York. That's my personal favorite.
It's better than the first one?
In my opinion, yes, it is.
It's tough.
He said, "Damn."
That's tough.
But I mean, that's a 1A, 1B kind of situation. I feel like they both kind of. I mean, I rock with both of them, but for me, I would say Home Alone 2 is just a slightly better. Because especially when I was a kid, like that was like a dream. He got a lot. He ain't got no family.
Yeah.
He out here spending cash. He over here in limos. He out here getting pizza, room service. He over here chilling by the pool. Like he was, man, he done took his dad's wallet and he was living his best life. So that's like, for me, I was like, man, I want to, just get away from my family and live it up for a week. I would love that.
And I had to ask that question because that was one of your clips in your younger journalism days when you were out in the streets asking the questions. So I had to kind of come back and see
in the demo reel. Oh yeah, the Stanford University demo reel right there.
Absolutely. So I had to see if you still. So you try to give us like the PC answer, then you came back to your truth. So I like that you came.
That's the thing. It's kind of like there's a lot of things where it's like you can ask someone. So like, who is the greatest? This. And then there's the answer that you actually have, and then there's your answer for your own personal reasons as to why you like this person. Like, for an example, Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player of all time. That's not my favorite basketball player. My favorite basketball player, my GOAT, is Kobe Bean Bryant. But if you ask me that question, how am I going to answer? Off of personal preference or off of
facts? Jordan.
No. No.
Off just pure facts.
Anyway, we're gonna move on. Let's jump into the winner's circle, man. This is just a platform where we talk about what great stuff you got going on and continue to big you up, man. Because like I said, this journey and this conversation has been fantastic. And then what's amazing is you want to plug your work, which makes sense. Because you put a lot of effort into it and just sharing what that passion, what it means to you. So just tell us about like Raiders.com. Like, why should people go there? Like, what is, besides your work being there, but just tell us the passion and what people look for in Raiders.com.
Really, like I was saying earlier is the exclusivity, if I pronounced that word right, of Raiders.com. We have a lot of exclusive content. I'm able to get a lot of quotes from a lot of people for stories that other reporters and other beat writers aren't able to get, just because of my access to the team and my ability to be able to get that for fans. So I think that's why our content stands out. Uh, our ability to break news at times, just because we are the Raiders, it's not at the same level, because we have to go through the whole procedures of making sure things are officially official. So what we offer is the ability to kind of like have more interesting content of preview stories for each game, but also I think that our feature content when we write about certain players is second to none, just because of the access that we have. So that's why I would tell people, go to Raiders.com and read my content, read Rachel's stuff, read our columnist and all of other things that we have, is because I feel like in terms of our exclusivity of what we write is second to none with what we have with these players.
Love that. So go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, and the continue build out of .com and all the different shows, and you mentioned a couple of them that you guys have, and how you guys are continuing to grow and progress there. What are some exciting things that, as we get into the season, that you're looking forward to continue to build on?
Really, I just want to hone my craft as a writer, continue to write some more feature content, write some more long form stuff. We have a couple more episodes of press coverage coming out that I'll be involved in, so it'll be able to not only give off those long form feature writing chops, but also kind of put me back in front of a camera, maybe, so I can take a second or third crack at an Emmy. So that'll be fun. Obviously, do a whole lot of whether I am on Raider Nation Radio with JT the Brick or Q Myers or Vince Sapienza, or upon further review with Paul Gutierrez. I'm going to be continuing to do all that content as well. Just kind of making appearances and doing things for our internal platform. So that's always going to be great. So that's what I'm really looking forward to this year, especially because I feel like the last couple of years, there hasn't been this level of intrigue in the team. And I think that we now, for the first time in a while, have like a very formidable team that's going to win some games, and people are going to, really be interested in knowing more about the team and consuming more content.
Awesome. All right. So, in writing, there's, maybe like a piece that just really, you're really proud of, or just something that you've done, or just from your works. I'm gonna share my favorite so far, like just doing the research and quick. Like I know you got a lot of stuff, so still got some more reading to do. But just kind of in prep for the show, that commitment to Black excellence, man. I really like that piece. But is there a piece that you've done thus far that just like been like one of those like shining moments, or that you just I know you're proud of everything, but just something that stands out about one of your pieces, or maybe that we should all go read?
Well, there's a few. I'm just gonna obviously the Max Crosby featured piece that I did for press coverage. More is required. That's on Raiders.com. That's a big one. Obviously, like I put a lot of work and time into it. That story alone kind of forged my gateway into doing more things within our platforms. So that's my baby. That commitment to Black excellence story that you were talking about, I love that story, because that was like one of my first legit columns where it was one of those things where I was, asked like, okay, well, it's Black History Month, we, your standard, like, okay, we need Black history content. Is there anything you want to do? And I was like, yeah, we can go the, average route of, just talking about the basic Black history and, Raiders history, or I can kind of speak from the heart. Let me tell my story and tell how my story intertwines with the Raiders story about Black history and injustice. And they gave me the opportunity to do that, and that's something that I'm really proud of. And Mike Taylor, who's our historical director, he really helped me out with that. Mike Taylor, he's another one of my OGs, and
OG for real.
he helped me out with that. And that was funny because on the first edits, I was kind of still being a little timid and just kind of like just trying to be very like surface level. I didn't want to be too militant. And so he took over the first couple of edits, and he looked over and he was like, "Nah, I need you to put some more into this. Like, I want you to like tell me how you really feel." And so I did, and he really helped me out with that. Another story, and this last one, obviously he's a former player, but Thayer Munford, he is a guy who we just released a couple of weeks ago, and I did a story on him for mental health awareness because I knew that he was dealing with some stuff during his rookie season, and he sat down with me and he really was very open with me about his story. He was somebody I was already pretty cool with in the locker room, just talking, having that relationship. So he really poured out to me how he felt, and I was able to write a really good story on it. And afterwards, he sought me out and he was like, I really appreciate you for writing that, and you did a great job. And a lot of my family, my friends, they read that and they were like, man, Levi, or man, like I didn't know you were going through that. It's crazy. And so for to get that response from a player for a story I've wrote, I've only have gotten a few responses from people like that where they come back to me and they're like, man, like you writing that really meant a lot to me. So that's always going to stick out with me, is that story on Thayer. So if I had to make if I just named 3 that really mean a lot to me, it would definitely be those.
Love that. Man, you ever get writer's block?
All the time. Yeah.
And how do you break out of that? What's your mode to break out of that?
Consume more caffeine. That's my.
I love it,
that's
man.
my way.
And then, how important is NFBJ for you, or for just kind of like journalists?
It's massive. I wish I would have done more with NABJ kind of when I was coming up in college, and it was something that I started to get a little bit more involved with. Once I was able to become a professional, once I got with AL.com and once I got with the Raiders, and that's something that I don't take lightly because obviously I'm still a young guy. I'm still a young Black journalist, but now I'm in a place where I have other young Black journalists who are looking up to me, and they want to be in the place that I'm at. And it's one of those things where it's very cliche, but once you see it, you can achieve it. And there's a lot of people that I had to see to let me know, like, I can do this. And if I can be the same, person that someone can see and be like, okay, well, I can be a team reporter for, in the NFL because this guy over here, he's doing it. Levi Edwards, he's doing it. And so that's something I don't take for granted. And I'm always someone, like, if you hit me up on LinkedIn or if you just email me and you want to talk or if you want advice, like I'm going to probably reach back because I know what it's like to have to go through those hoops and climb your way up to, make a name for yourself. And so any piece of advice, that I can say or help to someone, I'm going to give. Obviously, all of our stories are different. Everyone has different paths. So my path to where I've, how I got here is going to be completely different than somebody else's path. So all I can do is just share how I got here and the mistakes that I've made and the triumphs I've had. And if that helps another, young Black journalist, especially at NABJ, then by all means, I'm going to help them out.
Now, is there like a story that you're baking or you waiting to pull out? Like you've been like, oh, no, wait till they let me get a hold of this month. Like, is there like a story that you want to do or like a concept that you pitching that you want to pitch that you haven't done yet? Something on Tom Brady. Like, having him, I don't know.
I definitely need the Tom Brady interview. Definitely for sure need the Tom Brady interview.
Let's put that out there. But yeah, give us that though.
So I started a podcast series, and it was a podcast article series that I started last year, and it's called From the Vault. So I worked on this throughout the season, and then it came out earlier this year in January. So we had 4 episodes, and it's basically on 4 different games or 4 different plays that kind of like throughout Raiders history that kind of like tells the story of the team. So I did one on Max Crosby foresight game against Cincinnati his rookie year. I did another one on Marcus Allen in his first playoff game where he had like 2 touchdowns. Another one on Terrell Pryor and his 93-yard run against the Steelers. Still the longest quarterback rush by in NFL history. Another one on Rod Woodson and the interception he had in 2002, the year they went to the Super Bowl. And I know that's a lot of background information. So those were the 4 episodes. But I am currently in the process of trying to bring that series back to kind of do some more with it. But my holy grail interview that I would want for this series, and really just my holy grail interview that I want with the Raiders, is Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson is like greatest athlete to ever come out of my state of Alabama, arguably the greatest athlete ever, all time in history. So like I have to have Bo. I got to get a Bo Jackson interview. And
Bono's football.
Oh no.
Bono's football. I have to have it. Like I need it like I need air.
I love that.
To interview Bo Jackson. And he had a lot of great performances with the team. Obviously, you have the 221-yard game against the Seahawks his rookie year. So that would obviously be the one that I probably want to ask him about to chop it up. But like you guys don't know how much I need the Bo Jackson interview. Cause that's one of them ones, like for real. I need that. So that's the one that I would say I want.
All right. So what you got? You got anything, MH? Because I want to jump over to the assist.
No, this is cool.
All right. So you kind of mentioned it, you touched upon it, but the assist is where we really ask you, to give maybe words to live by, or a quote that you live by, or something you would tell your younger self. And you mentioned it, right? Like there are some, younger people that are starting their career. Like what advice would you give them if they're looking to be in this? It's a tough, now people forget, like you said, it looks luxurious, but it's a lot of work and dedication to get to it. So kind of giving us the coaching gym or the assist, man, what is a words to live by philosophy that you have or that you want to share?
So a quote that I live by that like always runs supreme in my mind. It was a quote that I ran by when I was early in college, and it's of the great Martin Luther King Jr. I know everybody always throws around MLK Jr. like he was Black Jesus, but I have to say that my favorite quote that I live by is by him, and it is, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving. And that's something that I live by, and that's something that I stand on. Is it doesn't matter how big or how small the progress is being made. The worst thing you can do is stay stagnant and let people run by you. So it doesn't matter how you have to get by. It doesn't matter how you have to move forward, but you have to keep moving that by all means. So that's something that I live by, because, you have to take the victories and you have to take the wins, as big or small as they are. I'm not someone that likes to, stay stagnant. I'm not someone that likes to stay idle, even in the littlest of ways. If there's something I can do to get better, if there's something I can do to keep progressing myself, I'm going to do it.
I love it. If you could, man, share where we can find you, man. Share those Twitter, all the social handles, please. And we'll put this in the show notes too, but we want to make sure that audio listeners can hear that as well. So tell us where we can find you and your work.
Well, obviously my work is on Raiders.com. So go there, and there's a lot of stories on there, but, I'll say 6 or 7 times out of 10, it's going to be my story that I wrote. So go on there and read that content. Also, all my handles are the same, at the Levi Edwards, and that's on X, that's on Instagram. You can find me on there, and I post a lot of my work on those 2 platforms as well. So, you're going to see a couple of posts where you have to see, stuff about my daily life and how I operate and all that kind of stuff. But I promise you, Raider fans, if you go on there, like, you'll see some really good content that you'll want. And then, the other stuff that I post about me, you'll have to just kind of live through that. But yeah, that's where you can find me at.
And you notice he said the, you know what I mean?
The Levi.
The Levi. So you
Levi Edwards was taken when I was trying to come up with a username, and a young 14, 15-year-old Levi, when he first got Instagram, he was, he had to put the D in front.
Hey, for sure. All right, MH, man, please give us those final thoughts, man.
No, Levi, man, I appreciate you, man. And if you're not following Levi on X, man, he's hilarious. So please do. It's a good follow for sure. But Levi, now appreciate you coming on with me and EJ, man, and spending some time with us during the season. I know it's busy for you, man, but fan of your work, obviously, fan of you just as a person, man, and looking forward to continuing to work with you and see you grow, man. Appreciate you,
man. And I'm gonna make sure we keep on cranking out them community stories too, because I know you're doing some great work too. So I'm gonna shine some light on what you're doing too, Miles. So I appreciate you for having me on, EJ. It's been a pleasure talking to you too. I've heard great things about you, so I really do appreciate you guys giving me this time and this platform to kind of tell my story and learn more about you guys too.
Absolutely, man. I think I reached out to you when you first moved here, man, and welcome to the city.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's great to finally, take some time and verbal break bread, man. So keep up the good work. and we can't wait to celebrate when you get that Emmy. So let's get that this season. Let's get it.
And the Instagram post gonna go crazy. I'm telling y'all, I'm so ready for it.
Hey, we ready to retweet it, repost it, have you back on. Hey, in your former rapper legend, we'll let you talk your shit.
Oh yeah, talk that cash.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey, man, I hope you all enjoyed this, man. We want to thank our guest, Levi, for hopping on, like M.A. said, during the season. Follow his content, man. It's just great work that we're doing with a great brand, of the Raiders. And they're going to do something this year. So please kind of watch and just know you heard it here first. Also, if you enjoyed the show, please share it. That's how we kind of show people what's going on, what we're doing. And then also, please subscribe to YouTube because we believe visual representation matters. If you see it, you can be it. And lastly, as we always say, please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got us sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.